Welcome to our retire early lifestyle. Did you move to the wrong country? Here's how to tell. The fastidious traveler will always find something they don't like. Remember in our past videos we talked about the reasons why expats leave a country? Well, right up there at the top of the list is the inability to adapt to all the different changes. The inability to adapt can mean a lot of things, such as the inability to fit in because of the lack of interaction with the local people, because we can't or won't learn the language, or simply adjusting to the noise levels, or the lack of infrastructure, or adjusting to the Latin American mañana attitude. And if that isn't enough, there's the stigma Americans and foreigners will always carry with them, that they are wealthier than the locals, no matter how much language you learn. And so price creep, also known as price gouging, is always a challenge. And the thing is, these things may seem superficial at first, but after a while of living somewhere, these annoyances do end up affecting our lifestyle if we won't or can't adapt to them. In fact, some personality types that are very organized and always in a hurry to get things done will be annoyed by the laid-back, do-it-whenever attitude. When we lived in Cuenca, we used to joke around that it would be great if we could just get at least 2 errands done on our list of to-dos in one day, because rarely would we ever get everything accomplished. The slower-paced lifestyle in Latin America affects people differently, and some personality types never accept this laid-back lifestyle and believe it to be laziness or ineptness of the local people, when it is just part of the culture. It's how they do things. It's how they live. And so trying to change this by griping and complaining is useless and only causes more problems for yourself and the people around you. I mean, look at the previous video we just made. Americans moving to Mexico and then renting an apartment smack dab in the touristy restaurant sector and then suing the restaurant for playing Mexican mariachi music until 10 p.m. Does that sound like happy campers? I mean, if you like peace and quiet, then why move to a Latin American country in one of the most touristic cities in Mexico and live in the middle of the nightlife sector? For goodness sakes, don't you know they play Mexican music in Mexican restaurants in Mexico? Like John Stossel likes to say, good grief. Or does he say, give me a break? The bottom line is, if your personality type and lifestyle is not suited for the foreign country that you moved to, you'll probably feel uptight a lot of the time, and especially after the honeymoon vacation period wanes. These types of people end up moving back home after just a few short years.
A lot of people end up leaving because they came for the wrong reasons. They were enticed into coming for the wrong reasons. And then after they're through with the honeymoon phase and like you look at us, I mean, we brought our family. And I think that when people leave for other reasons, like the kind of reasons that people are enticed into leaving for, like, you know what I'm talking about, the major retirement magazines, the ones that make it sound all glowing and, you're going to have people at your beck and call waiting on you hand and foot, on $1,000 a month to live on the beach, everything's rosy and beautiful. And you're in paradise. These are the people that are, eventually they're going to see through that and then they end up leaving. Retiring abroad, they don't understand, they don't think it through, or they're just looking at one thing, one aspect of it. But a lot of people realize later that they miss their family and they don't really want to be, out here alone and stuff. Everything's so different. Everybody's so different. People are different. Everything's different. So,
moving to a country just because it appears everyone else is going there, or because you've been told it is the best place to live in the world, is the first clue. For instance, we know of people who moved to France because they love the French language, the French cuisine, the beautiful Romanesque architecture, and the wonderful French people. And on and on and on, and it would seem like a no-brainer to move there, right? Wrong. People tend to go by feelings when they move to a foreign country. They think it will be so much better than where they live now. They idolize the feeling they get when they watch vloggers talk about a certain country. It's called the grass is greener somewhere else. And the grass always does appear greener at first. For example, maybe you have been influenced to believe that moving to Italy or Portugal is the best thing in the world. Why wouldn't it be great when everyone is talking so wonderful about it and what you've seen in videos looks so lovely, right? But travel vloggers have a job, and that is to influence you into believing something about a country, whether it's negative or positive, and they're good at it. We tend to romanticize moving to foreign countries by how we feel about them rather than if they're actually suited to our personality and lifestyle. We may idolize living in a certain country permanently, but the truth be told, some of these countries are ideal for a vacation. But for living there on a permanent basis is another story altogether. Reality has shown us that most people really shouldn't move to a foreign country. There are probably just as many ugly Brits as there are ugly Americans, meaning we're all to blame for not doing the deep dive research we should be doing before moving to a foreign country, and then thinking we'll somehow adapt to the changes and unfamiliarity around us. Fussy and fastidious folks are better off just taking vacations. And then you have the feminist solo female traveler. Now this is a real biggie for young solo female travelers. That is the tentacle of patriarchy that is often mislabeled as the machismo attitude and is prevalent throughout Latin American society and even in some of the European countries such as Spain, Portugal, Italy, and even France. There is a lot of misunderstandings and misinformation about the concept of machismo in some of these countries. But we won't get into all that in this video. We just want to say that solo women travelers are often the targets of catcalling and other unpleasant remarks from disrespectful men in Latin America and even parts of Europe where the machismo attitude is still prevalent. The machismo thing is simply the lack of respect towards women. Real men do not disrespect women. But there is always going to be a group of teens or immature young men trying to behave tough in front of their friends and will show off by behaving disrespectful to the foreign women by whistling or catcalling. It almost always happens where groups of young men hang out watching people walk by. The bottom line is, the feminist traveler will usually not appreciate the unwanted comments too much and may even feel intimidated or fearful. And therefore, as a long-term place to live, it would be a very bad fit for her as a female alone. Although times are changing in Latin America, it's still way different than American culture. Remember, we can't change what is a big part of the culture, and we shouldn't try. We do not advise young or even older women to travel abroad alone. There is so much crime against women all over in the world. Why on earth would she want to go abroad alone in the first place is beyond me. Our advice for female solo travelers is to not appear as if you're looking for attention and respect the values of the country you're moving to. You may not be looking for the attention, but in Latin American countries, they frown on shorts and tank tops in government offices and even on the streets, and it may be because they know that it entices the young men to catcall, and unfortunately maybe something far worse like sexual assault. Bottom line, skimpy clothing is reserved for the beaches. This will also deter most of the staring and whistling, and the government knows that. And finally, there is the escapist traveler. Some Americans are always bad-mouthing America and behave as if some other country is so much better, and it is usually the types of people who are escaping the negatives of America. In United States of America, Americans are the change for their collapsing country, but instead, these Americans want to run and escape the collapse of their own country. Good luck with that. For years, Americans have relied on institutions to fix their problems and documents to give them life, liberty, and happiness. And what happened? The institutions failed them of their life, liberty, and happiness, and now they're running for cover to a foreign land. There are bad politics, ugly people, bad events, and negative issues happening in all countries. There is no escaping the wrath of evil anywhere in this world. We should look for ways to make the best of what we have, because the other side of the fence is not necessarily the answer. No matter how green the grass looks, it may turn into the case of from the frying pan into the oven. Or is it from the oven into the frying pan? This may offend some people, and we don't mean to offend, but it needs to be said. We need to take responsibility for our own lives and stop relying on institutions to provide us with our life, liberty, and happiness, which has already been given to us by our Creator. That's right. God provides us with life, liberty, and happiness, and the sooner people realize that simple concept, the better, because God won't fail us, ever. As we say on this channel, we need to know ourselves well before moving to a country, just to make sure it will be best suited to our personality and lifestyle. And even then, most people shouldn't move to a foreign country, and we're sticking to that. We've seen it over and over again, and we can bet you that most folks won't last 2 years living in a foreign country. That's just the truth of the matter. Well, that's it, folks. Hope you got something out of that. We always like to leave our viewers with things to consider, because in the end, it's your decision and it's your life. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.